The Galactic Council chamber was a vast, glittering hall that seemed to stretch beyond sight. Light from hundreds of distant stars streamed through crystalline windows, casting colors on the polished floor that shifted with every movement. Hundreds of species had gathered here, each more strange and fascinating than the last. Some had scales, some wings, some seemed made of pure light. They were the rulers and guardians of countless star systems. And today, all eyes were on one small blue planet, Earth. Commander Elias Grant stood at the human delegation's podium. He was not the tallest or the strongest, but he carried himself with a calm confidence that drew attention. Behind him, the humans, scientists, engineers, and diplomats watched nervously. Elias knew that many of these aliens thought of humans as primitive. They saw Earth as a backwater planet, dangerous in its violence, weak in its technology. But Elias had prepared. Humans had learned to survive against impossible odds for thousands of years, and now that survival instinct would be their strength. The council session began with the usual pomp. Choral tones of alien languages echoed through the chamber as representatives presented their positions. Some spoke in melodious sounds, others in rhythmic pulses of light. The topic of the day was simple in wording but enormous in consequence. Should Earth be granted full membership in the Galactic Council? One by one, the representatives spoke. A tall, crystalline being whose body refracted the room's light claimed that humans were chaotic, prone to war, and a danger to interstellar peace. A squid-like species argued that humans lacked proper governance and would never understand the complexities of galactic diplomacy. Even some who had met humans admitted they underestimated them. Elias listened quietly, letting the words wash over him. He had expected this. The aliens' arrogance was almost comical. They assumed humans' size, technology, and history were limitations. They assumed humans would accept rejection without resistance. Elias smiled faintly. They were about to be proven wrong. Finally, it was his turn. He stepped forward, voice steady, projecting over the chamber. "Honorable members of the council," he began, "you have judged humans by what you see at first glance. You have looked at our wars, our conflicts, our struggles, and you have seen only weakness. But you have not seen our strength." He paused, letting his words sink in. The council murmured. Some leaned closer, curious despite themselves. Elias continued, "Humans are survivors. For thousands of years, we have adapted to disasters, overcome famine, disease, and invasion. Every time we are underestimated, we rise again. That is not weakness. That is resilience. That is ingenuity." He walked slowly across the podium, letting his gaze sweep the chamber. "You see, our planet is small. Our resources limited. But from these limits, we have learned creativity. We have learned strategy. We have learned to work together, even when the odds are impossible. And now we stand ready to join you, not as followers, but as equals. We bring ideas, determination, and perspective you will find unique." Some representatives shifted uncomfortably. Elias knew he had struck nerves. Alien species, especially advanced ones, often relied on arrogance and habit. They assumed their way was the only way. Humans, however, did not follow habit. They adapted. After Elias spoke, the voting began. One by one, representatives cast their decisions. Each vote against Earth was met with polite nods. Elias's stomach tightened slightly, though he kept his calm face. He had predicted this outcome. It was not a surprise that the majority would vote against them. The arrogance of the council was almost predictable. Finally, the tally was announced. Earth had been rejected. The chamber erupted in polite applause. The aliens believed they had shown mercy by considering the humans at all. They believed the vote was final. They were confident. They celebrated quietly, smug in their superiority. On Earth, the reaction was different. Leaders and scientists watched the live feed of the council session. There were no riots, no despair. Instead, there was focus. Humanity was not blind to the council's power, but they had prepared for this. For decades, human scientists and engineers had worked on secret projects, starships, energy systems, artificial intelligence, developed under the guise of peaceful research. Today, these preparations would begin to matter. Elias returned to the human delegation. He did not celebrate. Instead, he studied the council chamber carefully, noting patterns, weaknesses, and tensions among the alien species. He had watched closely during the debates. The council was far from united. Some species resented others. Some were ambitious and reckless. Some were bound by tradition rather than intelligence. Humanity's underestimation of them would become their undoing. Commander Grant, one of the human scientists, said, "They really think this is over, that we will accept defeat." Elias shook his head. "No," he said calmly. "This is only the beginning. They have underestimated us, and that is the mistake that will change everything." Meanwhile, across the stars, human starships were quietly mobilized. They did not leave in a show of aggression. They moved with precision and purpose. Drones and AI probes monitored council systems, gathering intelligence on supply lines, fleet readiness, and communication networks. Every detail was logged. Every weakness noted. Humans did not rush into battle. They prepared. Back in the council chamber, small cracks were beginning to appear. A crystalline representative argued that the council had been too hasty. Another whispered that some members were secretly aligned with human interests. Yet no one dared disrupt the vote's conclusion. They assumed humans were powerless to act. Elias, however, knew otherwise. Humans had always been underestimated. It was the same on Earth throughout history, and now it was true across the galaxy. The aliens' arrogance would blind them to the truth. Humans were patient, adaptable, and clever. And humans never forgot. Night fell on Earth. Cities glowed with energy and life, unaware of the Council's vote. But beneath the surface, humans worked. Scientists fine-tuned AI systems. Engineers prepared starships. Strategists ran simulations. Every move was calculated, every possibility explored. And every day, humanity's strength quietly grew. Weeks passed. The Council, unaware of human activity, celebrated its decision. Plans were made without human input. Systems were deployed without considering potential sabotage, and fleets moved in predictable patterns. They assumed the galaxy's future was secure under their rule. Elias studied the Council from afar. "Their pride will be their downfall," he said. His voice carried a calm certainty, one that came from centuries of human history. "We do not need to fight with weapons alone. We need only to show them what they cannot understand: the power of ingenuity, unity, and resilience." On the human homeworld, children looked up at the stars, dreaming of distant worlds. Little did they know that the very stars above them would soon recognize Earth in a way the Council had never imagined. Humans were ready not for destruction but for recognition, not for revenge but for survival and respect. And so, while the Council celebrated, humanity prepared. Every small decision, every secret project, every strategy was a step toward proving that even a young, underestimated species could stand among the stars. The first part of humanity's plan was complete: survive the vote. The next part would be far more powerful: teach the galaxy a lesson they would never forget. The chamber of the Galactic Council, in all its glittering glory, remained blind to the quiet storm forming across the stars. Aliens continued to whisper of human weakness, while Earth's greatest minds worked tirelessly. Elias Grant watched from afar, calm and focused, knowing the greatest battle had yet to begin. And somewhere, in the silence of space, humanity's potential stretched like a rising tide, ready to engulf the arrogance of the galaxy. Weeks had passed since the Galactic Council had voted against Earth. The aliens were confident in their victory, celebrating their decision with grandeur. They assumed the humans would accept their fate quietly, a minor planet in the vast galaxy, powerless and predictable. They could not have been more wrong. On Earth, humanity worked tirelessly. Starships moved in secret. AI systems monitored the galaxy, and human strategists analyzed every possible weakness in the Council's operations. Nothing was left to chance. Every fleet movement, every communication protocol, every supply route had been carefully studied. Elias Grant oversaw it all, calm and composed, like a general playing a perfect game of strategy across a cosmic chessboard. "Commander," a young officer said, stepping forward, "the Council fleets are approaching their outer patrols. They have no idea we are tracking them." Elias nodded. "Good. They are predictable. That will be their first mistake." His eyes, sharp and steady, reflected the glow of Earth's starship hangars. "We do not attack recklessly. We strike where they least expect with precision and intelligence. That is the human way." The human fleet was unlike any alien race had imagined. Their ships were smaller than most Council vessels, but they were fast, adaptable, and equipped with systems that humans had perfected in secrecy. AI-driven drones could operate independently, repairing ships, hacking alien communication networks, and even disrupting energy flows. Humans did not rely on sheer firepower. They relied on ingenuity, coordination, and adaptability. As the Council fleets moved along familiar patrol routes, human drones silently infiltrated their systems. Communications were intercepted, weapon systems subtly disrupted, and navigation grids adjusted without anyone noticing. The Council, confident in their technology, assumed no planet as primitive as Earth could interfere. Elias watched the progress from Earth's command center. He did not celebrate. Humans did not boast of their skill, they executed it. Phase 1 is complete, he said quietly. Now we show them the true power of adaptability. The Council's arrogance was easy to exploit. Alien species had grown dependent on their predictable systems and hierarchical command structures. Each species assumed that their way of thinking was universal. They had underestimated a species that thrived on unpredictability. In the council chamber, the alien leaders were oblivious. They discussed trade routes, voting rights, and the next series of patrols. Some whispered about human weakness, mocking the small blue planet. Others debated minor disagreements among themselves. No one noticed the subtle disruptions occurring across their fleets. Then it began. First, isolated incidents appeared. A patrol vessel would report that their sensors were malfunctioning, or a starship would find that its AI was behaving strangely. At first, these anomalies seemed minor. The Council dismissed them as technical glitches, but they were not glitches. Humans had carefully studied Council systems for weaknesses. They now exploited them with precision. A Council ship thousands of light-years from Earth suddenly found its engines failing mid-jump. Another vessel lost all communication with command. Small, controlled, and intelligent disruptions were spreading like a quiet storm across the Council fleets. Panic began to rise. Alien species, usually confident and composed, were now confused and frustrated. The Council tried to respond, but their internal rivalries slowed decision-making. Some blamed technical failure. Others accused each other of sabotage. No one considered that Earth, a planet they had dismissed, could be behind this. Elias observed it all from Earth. He did not gloat. He did not need to. He had always known this would happen. The arrogance of the Council blinds them, he said softly. They cannot see what they refuse to believe. Next, humans escalated their actions, but carefully. A fleet of small, highly maneuverable ships approached the Council's central command station. They did not fire. They did not attack. Instead, they deployed AI systems that integrated with the Council's command network. In hours, humans gained access to key communications, logistical data, and fleet coordination systems. The Council did not notice until it was too late. Orders were delayed, fleets misdirected, and critical supply lines disrupted. Species that had once acted with precision were now confused, often moving against one another without realizing it. Chaos spread through the Council like wildfire. And then Elias struck at the heart of the Council. A human task force, small but highly advanced, moved directly into the central chamber's orbit. They deployed drones capable of disabling defensive shields, rerouting energy, and cutting off communications. The Council had never faced a threat like this. Their ships were powerful, but they were designed to face conventional attacks. Humans had attacked in a way they could not predict. Panic erupted inside the Council chamber. Representatives shouted, argued, and accused each other. Some tried to issue orders, only to find their commands ignored or rerouted. Some species panicked, retreating to secure locations. The unity that had held the Council together for centuries began to crumble. Commander Grant, a human officer, said, "We are ready for Phase 3. We can neutralize their central command permanently." Elias's calm eyes shone with determination. "Do it," he said. "But remember, we do not destroy. We neutralize. We show them our strength, not our cruelty. We are humans. We are clever, patient, and capable. Let them see that." The operation was executed flawlessly. Within hours, the Council's central command was paralyzed. Communication between fleets collapsed. Defensive systems failed. The Council, once united and powerful, had no way to coordinate. Alien species who had long believed themselves superior were now helpless in the face of humanity's strategy. And then, Elias sent the final message. A transmission appeared across all Council channels, clear and calm. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," Elias said, "you have judged us as weak, chaotic, and unworthy. You voted against us, believing your victory secure. Yet here you stand, powerless to coordinate. Your fleets disrupted, your systems compromised. We did not seek your destruction. We sought your recognition. Humanity does not rely on sheer strength alone. We rely on ingenuity, unity, and the ability to adapt. Let this moment remind you. Underestimation of humans comes at great cost. The council fell silent. Representatives stared at their screens, realizing the truth they had ignored. A species they had dismissed, deemed primitive, had outsmarted them without firing a single shot in anger. Internal rivalries flared. Some alien leaders attempted to reclaim control, but it was too late. Trust had been shattered. Fleets misfired, supply lines broke, and the council's authority evaporated. They had built a system dependent on hierarchy and predictability. Humanity had shown them that chaos, creativity, and adaptability could topple even the greatest powers. Back on Earth, people watched the unfolding events. There was no celebration, only quiet acknowledgement of what had been achieved. Humans had not destroyed the council. They had taught a lesson that could never be forgotten, that intelligence, unity, and determination could overcome arrogance and power. Elias Grant addressed his team. "We have not conquered," he said, "but we have earned our place. Remember this. Respect is given to those who prove themselves capable. Humans have done so today. Now the galaxy will see what we always knew, that we belong among the stars." The council, humbled and shaken, began to reconsider its position. Species that had once mocked humans now approached cautiously, offering tentative dialogue and cooperation. Humans did not demand submission. They did not seek revenge. They asked only to be recognized, respected, and allowed to contribute to the future of the galaxy. And so Earth's quiet rise began. From a planet once dismissed, humans had demonstrated the power of their greatest strengths: creativity, adaptability, and unity. They had survived the Council's judgment and, in doing so, had altered the course of galactic history. In the aftermath, Elias reflected on the lessons learned. Humanity had not relied on overwhelming firepower or sheer numbers. They had relied on intelligence, strategy, and patience. They had exploited the Council's arrogance not through violence but through clever action and planning. Across the galaxy, stories of humans began to spread. A species once considered weak had reshaped the political order not by brute force, but by demonstrating the power of ingenuity and resilience. Aliens who had doubted humans now spoke their names with respect, and on Earth, under the glow of the sun, humanity looked to the stars with quiet determination. They had faced rejection, survived it, and emerged stronger. They had shown that even a young, underestimated species could achieve greatness. The lesson was clear. The galaxy must never underestimate humans again. Elias Grant stood on the balcony of the Earth Command Center, gazing at the stars. "We have survived," he whispered. "We have shown them who we are, and this is only the beginning." In the vast, glittering expanse of space, Earth had made its mark, not through violence, not through fear, but through the qualities that defined humanity: intelligence, courage, and the ability to overcome the impossible. The Council had learned a harsh lesson: dismiss humans at your peril.